Shalom, Qodeshim. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today is a new year. We enter the race. We see in Luke 4:17, the scroll of the prophet Isaiah was handed unto him. Unrolling it, he found the place where it is written. So the Mashiach is given the earthly scroll. He's taken the scroll that Isaiah had, and he's reading it, saying he's fulfilling the scroll. He's making a proclamation. This is the Jubilee, right? That he's going to free the captives. And so the Messiah begins to run his race, just like we see in Revelation chapter 5. He went and took the scroll from the right hand of him who sat on the throne. So the Mashiach is in the midst of the throne, just with the Father. So the Father hands him the scroll. It's like him handing him a baton. He's saying, begin the race. The bridegroom is coming out of his chamber from the new year starting. We're all beginning this race with the scroll being handed to us, taking on this responsibility. We're going to break the seals. We're going to move through this year, breaking the seals in the course of the heavens, reading the earthly and heavenly scroll, just as our Messiah did. And I just wanted to do this little follow-up video on the 364 versus 365 because it can be somewhat of a mind bender if you are looking, using the definitions that are provided to us through through the world, through their systems, right? Because we think from a perspective of, hey, we're all on a ball, we're spinning, and it takes 23 hours and 56 minutes to this and 24 hours for that. And so we're kind of comparing apples and oranges. And I think, just from my understanding of what I see in the scriptures, that they had a concept of a flat stationary plane. And maybe, maybe they didn't, I hear this argument a lot. It's like, well, they didn't have the technology. Then maybe the spirit of Elohim that told them to write these things down, that could be wrong. And I think it's the flat earth and the globe earth, that whole thing is dumb for people to be divided over. We're all just seeking the truth. And, you're just met with such vehemency that, people get so angry when you talk about the shape of the earth. And there's definitely like a spirit of Baal there. It's the Baal spirit, right? It's people get really uptight and, they get out of sorts. So you can definitely see that. And I think, just from a biblical perspective, that is the way to understand the calendar, is that we are on a flat stationary plane and we are not revolving around the sun, but all the objects above us are orbiting, right? The orbs orbit us, and that's the way the authors, or whoever penned the Bible, that's how they perceive the motions of the heavens and the earth. And so you can even look at the word hemisphere here, and according to Webster, is a half of a celestial sphere as divided by two halves. So it's a celestial sphere, hemisphere. So you hear this argument, oh, we're on a hemisphere, northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere. But we are not a celestial sphere if you think about it from the biblical perspective of being on a flat plane. We are terrestrial. We are not celestial. Celestial is above, we are below. We are on a terrestrial plane, and above us is a celestial sphere. So a celestial sphere is an imaginary sphere of infinite radius against which the celestial bodies appear to be projected, and of which the apparent dome of the visible sky forms half. So they even tell us these definitions, but we don't really think these things through. We just kind of connect, oh, we're on a globe, and this is the North Hemisphere, and maybe there is people. I'm in the United States. Maybe people in Australia are currently upside down in comparison to me, and somehow this water is magically sticking to a ball. there's things we can't explain, and even it talks about in Isaiah, I think, maybe somewhere else. But if we could break that covenant, Yahuwah would break his covenant with Yisrael if we could measure the earth, if we could make all these determinations. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing, is trying to break that covenant. But and if you look at terrestrial, of or relating to earth and its inhabitants, so we are living on a terrestrial plane, and above us is a celestial sphere, which is an imaginary sphere with infinite radius, and we have two of them. And that's really looking from the north of the equator versus south of the equator. And so we have this perspective, and really it comes down to a lot of this. Maybe I'll do another video on the whole science, because I think I got a lot of stuff figured out, but I'm not going to get into that with this particular topic. So, but I did just want to go back over, follow up on the calendar 364, because brother reached out to me saying, the sidereal would be 366, and he's correct in that sense that, from that perspective of we are spinning, and in order for the sun to get back to the fixed spot, it would be 366. And so I want to show you this diagram they have here, actually in this is going to let me move over. In you go to sidereal time, and you look this up. So just assume here on the right we have a perspective, right? We're on this stationary plane. Just pretend like the sun and this star is all lined up. Say that's the equator, distant star, right? So they want you to kind of picture this. But what I'm getting at here is, in 364 days, or actually just starting off from a sidereal day, if you go like this, the star will be here in 23 hours and 56 minutes. But the sun is over here. It's not back to its same spot. So what they're saying here is it takes a full 24 hours for the sun to get back here. But for whatever reason, if you look up how long is a day, they're going to tell you it's 23 hours and 56 minutes. An actual day is that. Well, then why the confusion? Why not just say it's 24 hours? Well, it's because they're mixing two different types of time calculations, and so it adds a little bit of confusion and mind bender. But if you're on this fixed plane on a flat Earth, and everything's orbiting above you, this takes so much time to get to here, and then the sun will come to here, and then project this over 364 days. It actually takes the star is going to get back to its point sooner than the sun, 364 days. But the sun will take 365 days to get here, and then that would actually be 366 for the star, but the star is no longer lined up here, so it's now a day ahead, essentially. So it's a day ahead, 366, but it's really was 364 here. And so this is like its 365th day, 366th day. And so you can see how there's just a confusion with how this is communicated. And maybe I'm adding to that, but that's just kind of how I see that. And I was just looking at this from a inner circle, outer circle, right? If you look at, consider, I think that's another thing to think about too, is like a clock. A clock is 24 hours, they say, right? So 2 spins around the clock, 12-hour clock, 24-hour clock, but that is a 360 degree circle, right? So you have a clock that's 360 degrees, and then you have a sun that goes over the top of us 360 degrees. And so that's kind of what they're doing, is just this little manipulation with sidereal versus solar. And so a circle is a circle is a circle. So a 360 degree clock circle will not bring you, the sun will not come back to its same spot on it. That's why they say it's 361 degrees for the sun to get back, and so it's actually more than a circle, and so that's why there's just this little twisting there. And so the globe model presents this 361 degree circle, but that's actually more than a circle. So they're saying it takes 24 hours to complete that circle, but it doesn't. It takes 23 hours, right, to complete the 360 degree circle, but it takes 24 hours to complete a 361 degree circle. Well, if you do that over the course of a year, you know, assuming that the Earth is spinning around the sun, for it to get back to that same spot, a 360 degree circle, it's going to take you 364 days. But with this adjustment, this 1 degree, it's 365. And so that's where I think a lot of the confusion comes in with comparing these things that aren't quite the same. And so on this diagram here, I kind of have showing that it actually, in a single day, it's 361 degrees, so it kind of comes further, and then in a year it's a little bit different. So if you think of this like a path, so if you had a star that's on an inner circle, it's only going to take 364 for a year, but the outer circle is going to take longer, right? It's going to take a day longer. So I kind of see it as 365 intervals, or sun ups and sun downs. It takes 365 sun ups and sun downs for the sun to get back to its spot on the equator, but only 364 intervals of this star passing by to get back to its same spot. But you know, looking back at this demonstration here, you know, if that's an extra day, think of how that affects the year. And what they say precession is actually not precession, it's just the way we are measuring and calculating it. And so there's not a wobble, it's just that we are moving through the ages. So it's a huge clock, 26 hour, 25,800 mile or year clock, or whatever they say, 26,000 roughly in the ages. And so we are progressing, and this clock above us is spinning in that concept. With this mixing, a year is 365.24 for the sun, and then, you know, with that clock, the sidereal is 366.24. But if you view that from the perspective of, hey, the star is going to reach its spot before the sun, so the 364th sun up and sun down, the star is going to be in this spot back to its original location, and then 365, the sun is going to go back to its spot, which would mean this is actually a day ahead using the two different comparisons. And so that's just kind of what I see here. And it, you know, it says solar time is measured by apparent diurnal motion of the sun. So if we look at what diurnal motion is, it's 23 hours and 56 minutes, right? So it's an astronomical term referring to apparent motions of celestial objects around the Earth. So it's around the Earth, two celestial poles, which I think it's really Boaz and Jacinth, right? The pillars, magnetic poles. But I'll get more into that in another video. So, but a sidereal day, 23 hours and 56 minutes. Solar day, 24 hours. So more than a circle. The sun has to go, if you think about the sun making a rotation, it goes 361 degrees, not 360 for it to get back to that spot. So if you go to Earth sky, you look up the vernal equinox, they have some videos and demonstrations here, and so here's their demonstration. So everybody hang on to your shorts. We're going to spin 1,000 miles roughly per hour. We make it around to here, and so that's what they're saying. There's a little wobble here, that's why things get adjusted and turned off. So that's us spinning around the globe. Excuse me, that's us spinning around. And here's one, if you want to look at it. They were able to get this camera fixed on the earth, but for some reason the earth's not moving, so I don't know. They're just playing games here. But that's an actual satellite view of the earth right there. It's amazing. But here's the problem I was talking about earlier too. If you look at this, a 360-degree circle, the light right here is here. Now it's over here, and so now at 12 o'clock I do a 360 spin. By the time I get here 6 months later, I'm looking out into space. So that's why they're looking at this. Africa's looking at the sun right here at 12 o'clock. Keeps doing a 360-degree spin. By the time you're out here at 12 o'clock, you're now looking out into deep space. So add a degree that helps solve their problem and tilt this to adjust for the they make all these adjustments to make it fit, make their model fit. So I want to show this. Imagine this bowl is kind of a sphere, but turn it upside down. If you take a bowl and you do this, you spin it, you'll get this like wobble. And so I kind of see that as how the sphere above us is doing. And you can see that in the sun. It makes this, analemma, right? It makes that figure 8 shape. And so, the earth not spinning, but that which is above us is spinning. It just kind of does this motion. It rocks back and forth, kind of like a bowl or spinning top. So you can see it's got just this little bit of wobble. And so take a plate, take a bowl, spin it like that, and you'll see this. And that's how the sun does. And I kind of think, there's that potential of a sinusoidal wave, which, if you understand like electricity or like a sine wave, it's this ebb and flow, right? It's this peaks and valleys. And, maybe portion of that is in relation to the calendar. I think a lot of people, you might be able to see that in scripture, is like maybe March now was, like I said, 2,000 years ago, we're off. So we've progressed, but we've seen the Lamb. He's been handed the scroll. The Lamb entering into Aries. He's beginning the year. He's taking off to begin and run the race. This is a cool video too. I wanted to show this guy. What he's doing here is he's showing you how heat rises. So I see the sun as kind of doing the spiral motion, essentially, from the hemisphere. It does this corkscrew, if you will. It might possibly be like a Fibonacci spin that's happening here. And so you see this guy, he draws out a circle. He draws out this coil, essentially, and it's like that's kind of like the path I see the sun as it goes up and down, just from a overview sense. And so watch as he applies heat to it, what happens. As soon as heat's applied to it, this thing just moves and spins from that hot air rising. So the sun's very hot. It does that. It spins. It rotates around us in this type of Fibonacci curve that I suspect. So, and also, speaking of precession, think of this precession, how that works. I see the way the Earth is as similar to a spinning top. And obviously you've got the centerpiece spinning, and so maybe the Earth is spinning. Maybe it's doing this, but it's still on a flat plane. So I'm not opposed to that maybe there's a Earth spin in that sense, because if we're all on water or something and we're just part of this giant clock or the system that's rotating around, that's not inconceivable in my mind. Water hanging upside down on a ball is inconceivable. but having the earth actually rotate and do that, I could get behind that. So, but if you think about like the top portion of the gyro, and it's interesting that a gyro, like a euro, I think it's called, right? It's a lamb and a bull. Coincidence, maybe. But if you look at the gyros, and you know, it has a spin, and the top of it can do this. But you know, on an airplane, they use that for attitude and under, you know, keeping the plane level so you can see every time it does this. And we should be able to do this experiment on Earth. If you take a gyro and you know, if you can spin it long enough, if the Earth starts to spin, it's going to do this. You know, the outer body is going to tilt. So that's a perfect experiment to know whether we're on a spinning ball or we're just flat and stationary. So that's just something to think about. If you look into these things and how they work, that's kind of just a key indicator of possibly what's taking above our heads, just kind of doing this motion, and the earth is steady and fixed underneath, and maybe there's a spin, maybe there's a not, but that's just how I see it. So just wanted to get it out there, explain a little bit on that 364 to 365 verse. But it's a new year, so I hope who has blessed you big in all that you do, and you continue to run the race. You know, go to the scroll, look into the scroll, look into the heavenly scroll, look into the earthly scroll, and get to know your Father. So sure love you guys. See you on the next one. Shalom.